My girlfriend messaged, "I'm sharing an apartment with someone from work. Don't make it weird." I replied, "I won't." Later, I forwarded the lease to a name listed under emergency contact. The call I got that evening wasn't from her. I'm 32, been with my girlfriend for 2 years, and I just discovered that trust isn't something you lose all at once. It erodes slowly. In tiny moments you convince yourself don't matter, until one day you're holding proof that everything was a lie. We met through a dating app, hit it off over our shared love of hiking and terrible horror movies. She was 28, worked in marketing for a tech startup, and had this energy about her that made everything feel exciting. For the first year and a half, things were genuinely good. We didn't live together, both valued our independence, but we'd stay at each other's places 3 or 4 nights a week. It felt balanced, healthy even. Around the 6-month mark of this year, she started mentioning how her rent was getting ridiculous. Her landlord had raised it twice in 18 months, and she was paying almost $2,000 a month for a tiny 1-bedroom. I offered multiple times to look for a place together, split costs, maybe get something bigger. She always deflected. "I'm not ready to live with a boyfriend yet," she'd say. "It's not about you. It's just a step I need to be sure about." I respected that. I didn't push. But she kept complaining about the rent, about how she was barely saving anything, about how she needed to find something more affordable. Then, about 3 months ago, she mentioned a coworker was also looking for a place. They'd been talking about maybe finding a 2-bedroom together to split costs. She brought it up casually one evening while we were watching a movie at her place. "Would that bother you?" she asked. "If I got an apartment with someone from work?" "Why would it bother me?" I said, genuinely meaning it. "If it saves you money and you get along with them, that makes sense." Just making sure. Some guys get weird about their girlfriend living with anyone else. "Is it a guy or a girl?" She hesitated for just a fraction of a second. "A guy, but he's totally not like that. He's in a serious relationship, practically engaged. It would literally just be roommates." Something about the hesitation stuck with me, but I pushed it aside. I didn't want to be that boyfriend, the insecure one who couldn't handle his girlfriend having male friends or roommates. "As long as you're comfortable with it, I'm fine," I told her. She smiled, kissed me, and that was that. Over the next few weeks, she talked about apartment hunting with this coworker, mentioned showings they'd gone to, places that were too expensive or in bad locations. She seemed excited about it, which made me happy for her. I even helped her look at listings online, sent her a few that seemed decent. Then one day, about 6 weeks ago, she texted me, "Found a place, signing the lease next week. 2-bedroom, good neighborhood, cuts my rent almost in half." I texted back congratulations, asked if I could see it sometime. She said sure, once they were moved in and settled. The move happened 2 weeks later. I offered to help, but she said the coworker had friends with a truck and they had it covered. Fair enough. I was busy with work anyway that weekend. The first week after the move, I barely saw her. She said she was exhausted from unpacking, getting settled, adjusting to the new commute. I understood. Moving is stressful. The second week, I started noticing things. She was texting less, taking hours to respond when she used to reply within minutes. When we did make plans, she'd cancel last minute. Roommate has people over and it's awkward. Too tired, rain check. Work thing came up. By the 3rd week, I'd seen her exactly once. We met for lunch near her office, and she seemed distracted the whole time. Checked her phone constantly, gave short answers to my questions. "Is everything okay?" I finally asked. "Yeah, why?" "You just seem distant lately. Is the new place working out?" "It's fine, just adjusting, you know. Having a roommate is different than living alone." "Have I met this guy?" "I don't think you've ever mentioned his name." Another hesitation. "I haven't really introduced you to my work friends." That wasn't true. I'd met several of her coworkers at a happy hour months ago, but I didn't press it. Then, 4 days ago, I got a text from her. "I'm sharing an apartment with someone from work. Don't make it weird." I stared at my phone, completely confused. I knew she was sharing an apartment. We'd talked about it extensively. Why was she telling me this now, phrased like that? I replied, I won't. She didn't respond. That night, I couldn't sleep. The message kept bothering me. The tone was off, defensive, like she was preemptively shutting down a conversation we'd already had, like she expected me to have a problem with something. I started thinking about all the canceled plans, the distance, the weird energy. And I started wondering if I was being naive. The next morning, I did something I'm not proud of. I went through our old text messages, looking for the apartment details she'd sent me. I found the address, the building name, but not much else. She'd never actually shown me the lease or any paperwork, which seemed odd now that I thought about it. I decided to look up the property management company, found their website, saw that all their leases were uploaded to a tenant portal. I didn't have access, obviously, but I started wondering what I actually knew about this living situation versus what I'd assumed. That afternoon, I drove by the building. It was nice, upscale even, definitely not the affordable option she'd described. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, feeling like a creep, before I saw her come out with someone. A guy, mid-30s, good-looking, well-dressed. They were laughing about something. He touched her lower back as they walked to his car, not inappropriately, not obviously intimate, but familiar, comfortable. They drove off together. I sat there feeling sick. I went home and did something worse. I called the property management office, pretending to be confirming delivery information. Asked if I could verify the unit number for the leaseholder. The woman on the phone was helpful, too helpful. She gave me the unit number and said, "Is this for both leaseholders or just one?" "Both are fine," I said, my heart pounding. "Okay, so that's apartment 304, leaseholders are..." And she said two names. His name. And my girlfriend's name. Both on the lease. Co-signers. Not roommates splitting rent with separate leases. A joint lease, like a couple would have. I thanked her, hung up, and sat in silence for 10 minutes. Then I did the only thing I could think of. I looked up the property management company's lease agreement template online. Standard stuff. Publicly available. There was a section for emergency contacts. I pulled up a skip tracing website I'd used before for work, entered his name and the address, and found a phone number listed as his mother. Emergency contact, probably. I forwarded the lease information I'd gathered, along with the address and unit number, to that phone number with a simple message. Thought you'd want to know your son recently signed a lease with someone. Might want to check in with him about his living situation. I didn't sign it. Didn't add context. Just sent it and turned off my phone. Update 1. I turned my phone back on that evening around 7, 16 missed calls, 12 from my girlfriend, 4 from an unknown number. My girlfriend's voicemails were frantic. The first few were angry. "What the hell did you do? Why would you contact his family? You're insane." The later ones were different. Crying. "Please call me back. I need to explain. This is so messed up." The unknown number had left one voicemail. A woman's voice, older, measured. "This is the mother of the young man my son has apparently been living with. I'd like to speak with you if you're willing. I have some questions about what you sent me." Not his mother. The mother of someone else. That didn't make sense. I called the unknown number first. A woman answered immediately. "Thank you for calling me back. I'm going to be direct because I think we're both owed that. You're dating her, correct?" "Yes, for 2 years. My son has been with her for 8 months. He proposed to her 3 weeks ago. She said yes. They've been living together for about 6 weeks now." The room tilted. "I'm sorry, what?" "He told us he'd been dating someone from work, that they were getting serious, that they were moving in together. He brought her to dinner twice. We liked her. She seemed genuine. He had no idea she had a boyfriend." My voice came out flat. "Had? Past tense?" "I called him after getting your message. He's devastated. He thought they were building a life together. She told him she'd been single for over a year before they met. I couldn't process it. 8 months. She'd been seeing someone else for 8 months while we were together. Not just seeing them, building a whole separate relationship, getting engaged. Where is she now? I asked. I don't know. My son told her to leave. She's been calling him non-stop, but he won't answer. I wanted to reach out to you because I thought you deserved to know the whole truth, not just pieces of it. We talked for 20 more minutes. She told me everything her son had shared with her, how they'd started as work friends, then started going to lunch, then drinks after work, then dating, how he'd fallen hard and fast, how she'd told him about a difficult past relationship, about needing to take things slow, but then moved in with him after 6 months, how he'd planned this elaborate proposal at a restaurant they loved. She'd been living 2 complete lives, telling me she needed space and independence while building a life with someone else. The canceled plans, the distance, all of it made sense now. After we hung up, I sat with my phone in my hand, watching her calls come in. I didn't answer. Instead, I texted her, "I know everything. Don't contact me again." She called immediately. I declined. She called again. Declined again. Then she texted, "Please let me explain. It's not what you think. I was going to tell you. I was trying to figure out how." I replied, "You got engaged to someone else. There's nothing to explain. It was a mistake. I got caught up in something, and I didn't know how to get out. I love you. Please." I blocked her number. Blocked her on everything. Update 2. The next few days were surreal. I took time off work, told my boss I had a family emergency. I wasn't lying, really. My entire life had imploded. I kept replaying moments from the past 8 months, seeing them differently now. The time she'd gotten defensive when I showed up at her old apartment unannounced. The weekend she'd said she was visiting family, but posted photos from a location that made no sense. The new necklace she'd worn that she said she'd bought herself. All lies, all pieces of a double life. On the 3rd day, I got an email from a name I didn't recognize. The subject line was, "I think we need to talk." It was from him. The other guy. The fiancé, I guess. The email was long, detailed, and painful to read. He'd written out their entire relationship from his perspective. How they'd connected at work, how careful they'd been to keep it professional at first, how it had gradually turned into something more. He'd included screenshots of their texts, photos they'd taken together, even a picture of the ring. "I'm not sending this to hurt you," he wrote at the end. "I'm sending it because I spent the last 3 days thinking I was losing my mind. She told me you were an ex who wouldn't leave her alone, that you'd been harassing her, that you were unstable. I believed her. My mother didn't. She pushed me to actually look into things, to verify what I'd been told. That's how I found out you weren't an ex. You were her boyfriend the entire time. I feel sick. I feel stupid. And I thought you deserved to see proof that you're not crazy, that this was all real, and that she's been lying to both of us." I responded thanking him. Asked if we could talk on the phone. We ended up speaking for over an hour. He was a decent guy, clearly gutted. We compared timelines, filled in gaps for each other. There were weekends where she told me she had work events that she'd actually spent with him. Nights she told him she had family obligations that she'd spent with me. "The crazy thing," he said, "is I thought I was getting all of her. I thought we were building this real, honest thing, and I was getting like 40% of her time and 100% lies." We talked about what to do. He'd already moved her stuff out of the apartment, left it with the building manager. He was breaking the lease, didn't care about the penalty, couldn't stay there. "Has she tried contacting you?" I asked. "Constantly. She keeps saying she can explain, that she made mistakes but loves me, that we can work through it. But here's the thing that made me finally block her. She never actually apologized. Not once. Every message was about her feelings, her stress, her confusion. Never about what she did to us. That tracked with the few messages I'd seen before blocking her. We agreed to stay in touch, to let each other know if she tried anything. Then we hung up, and I sat in the silence of my apartment, trying to figure out how to move forward. Update 3. A week later, mutual friends started reaching out. She'd apparently been telling people her version of events, that I'd become controlling and jealous, that she'd moved in with a friend from work for safety, that I'd harassed her and her roommate, that she'd had to get a restraining order. None of it was true. There was no restraining order. No harassment beyond that one message to his mother, which, granted, was invasive, but hardly harassment. I met with 2 of the mutual friends in person, showed them everything. The timeline, the texts from both of us, the email from him, the conversation with his mother. They were horrified. "She told us you'd manipulated her," one of them said, "that you'd isolated her from friends and she was scared to leave." "Did she seem isolated?" I asked. "Did I ever stop her from seeing you?" They both admitted no, that they'd seen her regularly throughout our relationship, that I'd never been anything but supportive of her friendships. The story fell apart under the slightest scrutiny. But damage was done. There were people who believed her version who didn't want to hear mine, who decided I must have done something to provoke this. I lost a few friends in the fallout, people who decided it was easier to take her side or just avoid the drama entirely. 2 weeks after everything exploded, I got a letter in the mail. From her. Handwritten, 6 pages long. I almost threw it away without reading it, but curiosity won. It was a mess. Contradictory, defensive, occasionally apologetic, but never actually taking responsibility. She wrote about how she'd fallen into something she didn't intend, how she'd tried to break it off multiple times but couldn't, how she'd been planning to tell me but never found the right time. "I never meant to hurt anyone," she wrote. "I just got overwhelmed and made bad choices and then felt trapped." The letter ended with, "I hope someday you can forgive me. I still care about you. What we had was real, even if I messed everything up." I read it twice, then put it in a drawer. I didn't respond. There was nothing to say. Update 4. About a month after everything came out, I ran into her at a coffee shop. Complete accident, neither of us expected it. She was with a friend I didn't recognize. I was picking up an order. We made eye contact. She looked like she'd been crying recently, eyes puffy, face drawn. She started walking toward me. I grabbed my order and walked out. She followed me to the parking lot. "Please, just give me 2 minutes," she called out. I stopped, turned around. "What could you possibly have to say? I know you hate me. I know I deserve that. But I need you to understand that I didn't do this to hurt you. I got caught up in something and I didn't know how to handle it. You got engaged to someone else while we were together. You lived with him. You built a whole life with him while lying to both of us. That's not getting caught up in something. That's deliberate." I was confused. I had feelings for both of you, and I didn't know what to do. "So you decided to just keep both? To lie to both of us for months?" She didn't have an answer to that. "Did you ever actually love me?" I asked. "Or was I just convenient?" "Of course I loved you. I still—" She stopped. "It wasn't about using you. I genuinely cared about you." Cared. Past tense. Don't do that. Don't twist my words. I'm not twisting anything. You made choices. You kept making them for 8 months. You only stopped because you got caught. If his mom hadn't pushed him to verify things, you'd probably still be doing it. She looked down. Maybe. I don't know. I was scared to lose either of you. Well, congratulations, you lost both of us. I got in my car and drove away. She didn't try to follow. Final update. It's been 4 months since everything fell apart. I've talked to him a few times since that first call. He moved to a different city, took a job transfer to get away from the whole situation. We're not friends exactly, but we check in occasionally. 2 people bonded by shared betrayal, I guess. She got fired from her job about 6 weeks after it all came out. Apparently, there were policies about workplace relationships that she'd violated, and once HR started digging, they found other issues. She'd been logging hours she hadn't worked, claiming expenses that were questionable. Without the protection of being well-liked, everything unraveled. Last I heard, she moved back in with her parents. Someone told me she's been in therapy, trying to work through whatever drove her to do what she did. I hope that's true. Not for my sake, but because that level of deception has to come from somewhere broken. I've started dating again. Slowly. Carefully. First date I went on, I told the woman the whole story up front. Not as a trauma dump, just as context for why I might be cautious. She appreciated the honesty, said she respected it. We've been seeing each other for about 6 weeks now. It's good. She has her own place, her own life, and no interest in rushing anything. We see each other when we want to, not out of obligation or because we're trying to maintain some elaborate lie. I still think about it sometimes. Wonder what I missed, what signs I ignored because I wanted to believe everything was fine. Wonder if I could have known sooner, done something differently. But mostly I've realized that some people are just really good at lying. And the best liars are the ones who believe their own stories, who can justify anything to themselves, who never quite admit what they've done, even when caught. She constructed 2 entire realities and lived in both of them simultaneously for 8 months. That takes a level of compartmentalization I don't think I'll ever fully understand. The mutual friends who initially believed her came back around eventually, apologized for doubting me, said they should have looked closer at the facts. I don't hold it against them. She was convincing, and people want to believe their friends. I kept the letter she sent. Not sure why. Maybe as a reminder that closure doesn't always come in the form you expect. Sometimes it's just 6 pages of excuses and non-apologies. I'm okay now. Better than okay, actually. My life is simpler, more honest. I know where I stand with people. There are no secret apartments, no mysterious roommates, no elaborate schedules to maintain separate lives. And I learned something valuable. When someone tells you not to make something weird,